Yep, we're good.
The meeting will come forward. Please stand because today. Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. The borough has complied with the provisions of the Sunshine Law by adopting prior to every this year's resolution describing the dates, times, locations of all regular meetings. This meeting is one of the meetings listed in such resolution and copies of the resolution were by January 10th filed to the borough. We have the minutes here. I see them in the paper. Yes, I apologize. Need a motion to approve skip. I made a motion to approve the February 26th special meeting minutes. The March 11th special meeting minutes. We need a second. Oh yes. Second. Second. So that's two special meetings and one working session. Okay, okay, so first. Let's be signing. These are the resolutions. Three has been, and they're not in that stack, and there's nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're in here, but they were not. We'll second it. And when you tell our clerk is not here today, so we are doing it. Okay. So now I'm going to look forward to public comment. A reminder that during board meetings, public comment is up front for both resolutions and discussion items. So if you have anything you'd like to say, this is your moment to go. So just raise your hand, name, and comments. Yes.
One day I'm at the township and advisor to the school chicken group, and we'd like to continue the discussion from the last meeting about changing about backyard fence. You should have a packet of handouts that Graham Patterson, who is chair of our group, did. Unfortunately, he had another commitment, he can't be here, but I publicly want to acknowledge him and thank him for the phenomenal job that he did with putting together this information. And you may notice in the proposed ordinance that all of us on the committee reviewed, gave our comments, and it's not basically a combination between the Haddam Township ordinance and Stratford one. And the reason that we included some things from the Stratford one is because looking at the types of houses, whether they're twins or row homes or big homes in Hollingswood, it did seem to be really helpful in defining the amount of heads that would be proper to have in someone's backyard. And so I think he did a really wonderful job on that. And this is what we're proposing that would be accepted because we all agreed after putting in our own comments that it was a really good proposed ordinance. And if you go through the rest of it, talking about, you can see he even started the Backyard Chicken Advisory Board guide. You see all the people that are involved. Dan DeVito is with me today. He's the secretary of the group. So we have more than enough people that are interested in serving as members of the Backyard Chicken Advisory Board, and very, very committed. This to me, with all the towns that I've worked with, and I've been successful in helping 35 towns change their law. This is the dream team. They're really committed, they're very educated, they put a lot of time into this. We've had meetings before leading up to this. And so we're very happy with our presentation and we give you a chance to ask any other questions or mention any concerns that you have.
Thank you so much. I will mention that we did receive those things from Graham Patterson late last night or late afternoon. So we had, I just missed it. So I'm sure and we shared it with our attorney, and we did kind of discuss maybe some back and forth on what we see these numbers chicken wines are a lot higher than the original ordinance that was discussed in early 21, 22. But the numbers are a bit higher, sounds like that's pulling from Stratford, more so than the Haddon Township based on what I see.
Well, no, not really. I think maybe the confusion is the first year that someone has tents, the limit is 4, regardless of if they have 3 acres of property in Collinsville. And we did that in Haddon Township because we wanted to make sure that the family really enjoyed doing it once they did it. They didn't want to like, nah, this is not what I want. And then the board has always said we would be helpful in helping them, recoding them, and not taking them ourselves. And I'm taking in a lot of, not for that reason, taking in a lot of pens from somebody whose other 4 members of the flock were killed by something or whatever, not for that township. Because the predator proofing thing is so important. But at any rate, maybe that is kind of what's in people's minds that we said like 4. We didn't ever say stay with 4. It always been the idea after the first year it would go up to whatever number. This is the first time that we've actually used Stratford for saying how money is fair to the property, and therefore it goes up. And it's fair. It's not going to be one of those ones that if you have 8,000 square feet, you know, you can have 25 chickens. I mean, it's really based on what is a good number that we feel for the size of the property.
Can I ask how long Stratford had their resolution?
I would say it's probably 3 years old. Yeah, it actually was April of 23. They just had an ordinance. Most of the towns now, because we prove it with all the pilot programs, that they're successful. None of the pilot programs has failed and not become the ordinance. So more recently, it's kind of a waste of towns' money to create a pilot ordinance and then have to go in a couple of years and make another real ordinance because pilots are successful. And the best part is we've done it in every kind of town. We've done it in large, expansive towns like Voorhees. We've done it in little tiny towns like Oak Cliff. We've done it in Hatfield. You can have them in Tavistock. They have their own ordinance for whatever it is, the 6 or 7 managements in Tavistock. So they're every single layer of looking at population, looking at housing values, looking at educational levels, all the statistics that you can find about towns. And it's been successful everywhere. So that we are not suggesting strongly discouraging having a pilot and wasting time and wasting money for plus money to make an ordinance to create a pilot, just like it costs money to make an ordinance to support it.
Any other public comment? That'd be all right. So I did have a chance to just quickly look over this morning. It mentions advisory board meetings. Can you share a little bit more about that? I know that you've got officers and you've other folks. Would those be open to the public? Is there an agenda? What do you see if any need for borough staff? Can you just share a little bit more about what those? I think it's monthly meetings or quarterly.
Yeah, normally, well, I mean, they should meet at least twice a year, but that's kind of looking at the future. Because obviously there's a lot more to accomplish when a program first starts. So it may be a monthly meeting, it could be on Zoom, it doesn't always have to be in person. But just to discuss, you know, what the current situation is, how many people have looked at the class and finished the class. Because it takes a long time, in a sense, to get ready to even have a chicken in your yard. Because of the way this is set up. The first thing they do is look at the 3-hour class, either in person, which my vice chair from Indiana Chickens would probably be able to do. But because a lot of people work and have kids and all that, Zoom class tends to be better, and it's a 3-hour class. Once they look at it, then they have to take a quiz. I don't trust anybody. I feel responsible to Collinsville or whatever town I'm working with that the person actually looked at it. So there is a quiz. And one of the main questions in the quiz is where do you put your food and run? And sure, put it in the shade, put it in the water, but you damn well, better put according to my town's ordinance. Because that's what's important, and they need to know that, and you know, they wouldn't fail the test for one question, but the point is, I'm gonna bring that up if they looked at all the physical things and not And then once that's done, then somebody from the board has to go out and just look at their property, have their measuring tape with them. Look and see, and then of course, look it up online, how many square foot that property is. Where do you wanna put your food, blah, blah. Once that part's done, then they can build or buy their food. And then there's another visit to make sure it's predator. Commonly because we have a lot of predators even in the day, with hawks around here. But the fox, and they're pets, and we want to take care of them like they're pets. They're just pets that we reference. But on the other hand, we also want to make sure that they're not able to get out of their coop and get in the neighbor's yard or whatever. So the second visit is to make sure everything's totally predator proof. And then if it is, we can sign them off and they can come to the borough clerk and pay their money to get their license, and then they get their chickens. So there's not one chicken set put on that property, all that stuff is done. And,
So just to clarify, are those meetings open to the public?
We would never say no.
Okay,
You know, I mean, every time we have a board meeting, which now we only meet twice a year, April and October, we always put it on our chicken Facebook page and whatever, but certainly it's open to the public. And once in a while, like a new family who's just got chickens, we spend more time talking about, oh, well, what are you doing, how you do one, you know, whatever, just kind of discussing stuff. And also the enforcement officer for Haddon Township comes to all meetings to
yours, yes, so I'm thinking about what our needs might be from the borough side. So this is community center, but you also said Zoom. The community center is a space that sometimes can be run out, so we would wanna know how often that is, because that's potential loss of revenue for the borough, but if it could Zoom, that would be. And then just if this is something that we're considering, how do people access those meetings, making sure that if they want to be comfortable, if they want to be on the board, whatever, like what's that process?
Sure, and if one of you wanted to come to board meetings, that's totally fine too. You know, it's totally open.
Okay.
So now we have a limit right now, we've had since we got our ordinance in 2015, actually 10 years from that township. We've never hit 30. I think we're up to 28 or 29 now. But we had discussed it with Mayor Teague when we created the ordinance, and he basically picked the number out of the sky because he figured, you know, if we don't have a limit, then maybe people are going to think that 150 houses are all going to run out of chickens, and we just knew that that was going to happen. But that's why it was picked at a number. And he also told us if we got to need the extra one, all we would have to do would be come to council and say we have a great person who would be an asset. Because sometimes people get older. One of the gentlemen gave it up because he just couldn't do it anymore. So where people move to another town, sometimes they have chickens there too. But I mean, the point is that it's kind of fluctuates. It's not always just going straight up, something down and up and down, but we never get 30.
Just one more question for me, so there's others. There's a clause in this proposed ordinance that anyone who violates this, there is a fine not to exceed $1,250 for imprisonment for a term. In any other of the towns that you worked with, have you imposed fees and or imprisonment?
No, never had to be done.
Okay.
And that's kind of, again, the benefit of the backyard court. So if there was a complaint, and I can't reiterate this enough, somebody that knows what they're doing was, and I know when somebody is not real familiar with chicken center, two people from the board would go, or I would go with them, not a problem. But I mean, say it was for smell, which we don't want to smell in our house either, so that's really an unfounded thing, really. But if it was, the enforcement officer went, they'd probably say, yeah, smell, so you have whatever your ordinance says, 2 weeks, and they said, or you have to get rid of the chickens. In our case, we're gonna teach. What are you doing? We're gonna talk about what they're using for vetting. We're gonna talk about how often they should change it. Maybe this works better, and blah, blah, blah. And say, you have the 2 weeks or whatever to fix it, and we'll go back. And if it isn't, then we turn it over to the enforcement officer. We don't say, hey, they need to have fines levied, or we have to have chickens removed, or anything like that. We've done our best at no cost to the township to fix the problem if there was a problem. And if not, that's who we run into, so all that stuff, none of it's ever happened, because it's never got to anything.
That's just helpful, because I'm trying to make sure I understand the delineation between citizens who are volunteers and borough staff time and when we would have those funds. We did turn this over to Cambridge. Do you have a chance to look at it?
Not thoroughly, but all of what she's discussing is correct. Citizen advisory board to not have any sort of calendar to to enforcement actions against residents. So her staff could do that. A 2-week notice violation period is pretty typical. And going back to the language of potential imprisonment, that is a typical ordinance violation. It is statutory. I don't know if I've ever actually seen somebody go to prison or ordinance violations, but it's just typical language that's in statutes.
Dan DeVito, 136 New Jersey Avenue. Just to add, I have on my property in Collinswood, I have dogs, cats, bees, and worms. And there's more education, support, and rigor behind this than any of the things you have to go through for any of those. So if you the quiz covers, it's very thorough, covers all of the things that could potentially create odors or sound, which it's like dogs or children. If you don't take care of them, they might stink or get loud. It's not chickens. So I think the class is a way to get people there. Some people will probably stop halfway through the class and decide this is too much work, I'm not going to do it. Then the multiple steps of getting work for the coop and the space. It's a very thorough rollout with a lot of fail safes, and I think that I was pleased to see the cap was 30 houses, partly because as a member of the board, I was thinking how many times I should do these properties, enter the backyard. But I think the fact that I hadn't touched this 29 after all this time, we've gotten, since this has gone public, we've had maybe a handful of people reach out, express interest. It's not like there's 150 of residents jumping into the and there's a dedicated group, but it's going to explode it because next to that is the work cost involved.
Any other
Is this open comment for any
open
other
comments?
issues?
Name and address.
Okay, Todd Kemmel, 25 East Wayne Terrace, Maryland. Parking problem. Recently, I was given 3 tickets over 4 days on my old Jeep, parked in front of my house for not having a parking permit. That is insane. I insist on behalf of the town that the process by which I was given those tickets be prepared immediately. We've lived here a year and a half. I parked in front of my home every night for that entire time. Not once did the borough ever inform me as a new resident a permit was needed, why a permit was needed, how to go about getting such a permit, the window I was allowed to get it sent to, etc. I got 1 ticket, was unhappy, but paid it just to not waste my time, and that I bring it up here at some point. Not to complain, but to demand we do better for the quality of life of the town. It should never be residents against the borough in hearts and minds. And the surprise of the ticket shows we don't care in this one. It takes a day or so to gather all the paperwork from 2 cars, 2 people, and present it to the police station or borough hall. But I got a second ticket 48 hours later, before I could get there with the papers. Sent in all the required paperwork and got a 3rd ticket the next night before I was able to pick up the tag. I wrote a pleasant enough letter to the police chief, making clear that there was a glaring problem with our ticketing enforcement. Please throw out the 2nd and 3rd tickets. He agreed to can the 3rd, but the 2nd one was now in the hands of the system, and I'd have to pay it or go to court. I reminded him that he was chief. Since this is all clearly wrong, he should step in and fix it for me and everyone else, and act like the chief he is. Nothing he could do. So I bit my lip and decided to go above him to change the system. That's why I'm here. 3 different cops over 4 nights, all around 2:30 in the morning, using a ticketing system that goes back to the Eisenhower era. In this modern age, there's no excuse for that. Any of many modern ticketing systems are commonly available and competitively priced. Each one hand wrote the same court date, 10 a.m. Went to court 10 a.m. as directed by 3 officers. Sign said come back at 11. Came back at 11. Entered into a bulletproof chamber. Was told I should have to read that I should have read the small print on the back. I said I do not have to read the small print on the back. That 3 separate officers wrote I should come to court today at 10 a.m. That is instructions enough. So I came back a 3rd time and sat in court and waited. A fellow who works for the courts, who was probably my age and looked 30 years older, like he stepped out of 1960 in the Carolinas, called me to the back of the room and told me I should pay the ticket. I politely said no. He said, well, a ticket is the easiest thing for us to prove, and you should pay. I politely said no. He excused himself and came back and said, okay, we'll cancel the second, but you still have to go in front of the judge to wrap it up. Sitting at the small table with us was a very big fellow who ends up being the assistant police chief, wearing his hair in an extreme high and tight that may work on a young soldier, but makes him seem like an angry tough full time. Visually, between the two of them, it just did not seem like the Collingswood I see in the real world. He seemed angry with the situation, didn't acknowledge me, and walked away when I was informed I wasn't going to be forced to pay the second ticket. Again, this is not citizen against the courts or the court officers, but visually it was archaic. From another time, not the modern world. Canning the ticket wasn't doing me a favor, and it shouldn't piss off a cop as if I got over on him, and I shouldn't be made to feel any of it. Then the judge. I stood up before he fully canceled the ticket. He informed me that I had been rude to his court worker when I told her I did not have to read the small print on the back that 3 separate officers wrote on the front exactly when and where I was to come to court, and I was clearly unhappy with it. So here we were in front of the entire court with the judge holding a big serving spoon of dog poop up to my mouth, daring me to refuse to eat it. Quite the conclusion to a smorgasbord of total BS. I ate the poop, only because I didn't know what secret stack of additional fines he had at the ready under the desk, and I have a life to live. That said, the win for the town I paid by eating poop publicly is that the ticketing system gets changed now. I was informed when I was there by others that one street had all gotten tickets during the daytime. All residents, no sign, no warning, parking where they always do. This is a quality of life issue. Every single person who gets a surprise ticket unjustly loves the town, and their police force a little less, because it is clear that the town in that moment doesn't care about them. I'll run into the judge socially at some point, fill him in on all the good that came from that spoonful of poop. Thank you.
I would begin by saying you do have a town-wide ordinance that there's no parking on any street due to six without a permit. I'm not sure what sort of process we have to form new residents, new homeowners of that ordinance. It's up on signs throughout town, maybe not as visible as they do not see it, but there are signs up. I've lived in this house for 8 years. I've got 5 or 6 parking tickets that 1 a year and some pop up. I don't have my parking permit.
I spoke to the chief about this, and we are adding additional signage. Chief one from China about additional signage for overnight.
Overnight parking, the main thoroughfares coming into town will have signs posted so it's clear when you get to town. It was also posted on the website what the regulations are as far as overnight parking.
And then I'm sure we can look at it further. The correct time report and that being on the ticket. Is that printed on the front situation or printed on the front?
It was hand drawn on the front by 3 different officers, same date, same time.
Questionnaire that I'm looking into time on the back and time jobs.
I want to make sure that's accurate.
Correct.
Additionally, we need a new system. It's not expensive. One that coordinates the police on who's gotten a ticket where. It's ridiculous that I got 3 tickets over 4 days. It means that we are not coordinating as a team. And it's not a big deal to do that, and it's inexpensive. It's a quality of life issue, and every time somebody gets a ticket, they didn't know that they were doing anything wrong. They're angry at the borough and they're angry at the cops, and it just shouldn't be that.
So you knew you were doing something wrong, you got the first. Okay, and then you parked 2 more times in the same spot. And you, as you described it, going through the process, you knew you weren't supposed to be parking on the street between those hours, and you did. So it's not a problem with coordinating the police, it's just a problem you have to park off the street.
You are
You get that
wrong.
first thing.
You are wrong.
Okay.
I'm telling you to your face, you're wrong.
You got it.
Okay? I got my first ticket. I started the process. I got the second ticket before I could finish it, and I got the third ticket while it was in process.
Yeah.
3 tickets over 4 days. After living here for a year and a half, none of that is right. So you can try to justify it in any way you want. It's ridiculous.
Thanks.
You've taken your comments, we're going to look into making sure that what's written on the ticket has the correct time, it should have been brought in to court at the hour that was correct. We are working on signage so people are aware of the 2 to 6 no parking, and you also, you don't get like a hacking into the town, right? I don't know what it's like, realtors are giving out information on, you ask what day your traffic pickup is from your neighbors. We could develop some sort of a welcome to the neighborhood. Click here on the website, things you need to know, and that could be one of it because it's just one of our laws.
There's a safety issue too, right? It's about emergency vehicles overnight, being able to access old streets that were developed before people had multiple cars. So there's a safety component.
Any other comments? Seeing no other comments, and we'll begin with our resolution. Sure.
First on our list is, rescinding resolution 2026, appointing Remington, current design engineer for the Coast Guard Water.
So just to explain, we've been given, IBank funding. We agreed to IBank funding for this project, and as per IBank requirements, we have to appoint, Remington and Burdick specifically in the original resolution, so that's our rescinding this one, and the next one will be awarding Remington and Burdick, who is our borough engineer, to work on the rest of the project.
So more or less housekeeping, or the IBank.
Yes.
I will make the motion to send a resolution.
Well, it's just, yes, we just.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright, so the second one is awarding the engineering certificate. All in favor? Yes.
Third resolution on the list is appointing Adrian Wyatt, special counsel for the Borough of Commerce.
Yes.
Are we gonna explain what this is for?
So, this is,
So, we are considering conducting a, special investigation regarding fire incident that occurred in town. We just want to make sure all the procedures and policies that the borough has in place are followed appropriately. So we thought it's appropriate to appoint somebody who has, no past history of the town to go through all of our regulations, rules, and procedures, and policies and.
Yes.
Yes. Next resolution on the list is authorizing the shared service agreement to come to the Board of Education.
Sure, so, these are discussions that have been in place for, I don't know, 8 months, a long time. Discussions about, partnering, regarding recreation. This began with discussions of the plan to play, document, that was conducted prior to Daniel Lennox being in office. And using, recreation funds in order to serve both the schools and the public. So this shared service agreement means that, for instance, playgrounds will now be available after school hours and on weekends. It means that the walking track will be available, and it means that those funds, that were taken out again prior to us taking office, will use, for development of recreation to use special to schools and the borough. For instance, as just one example, the behind the school will be available to the borough for July festivities. There will be space for other programs as well, as identified in shares. But this is, it is memorializing this agreement that has been in discussion via public input, for the last few months.
And a necessary step for the investments we're making in the fields behind the middle school, high school complex, that those fields will also be for recreational use of the borough's rec programs. So all those things will be allowed with this shared service agreement.
Oh, that's it, yes.
Yes, yes.
And the last resolution on the list is authorizing payment of bills as presented by.
Yes, yes. Okay, some discussion items. The last few working meetings, we've discussed the process of licensing pets in the borough. I wanted to look into this further, so, residents of Congress will know that you have to pay a small fee to license your animal each year, and what does that go to, and why do you do that? Well, I asked, Betty Jo, who serves as the CFO for the borough, as well as Sandra Duffy, our administrator, for a little more detail so I can understand this fully. So in the year 2025, we spent in total $33,305 on an animal control officer, including overtime for the weekends, euthanasia fees, Forney's Animal Orphanage, tags, reminders, and the license program. So we spent $33,000. However, to date, in 2026, we have only collected $5,740.80, thus making a difference of $27,564. So the reason for bringing this up is we are kindly asking our residents to please license their animals so that this can pay for animal control and other fees as required. If they don't, this money has to come from elsewhere in our budget. So what I wanted to bring these numbers to the rest of the commissioners, that Betty Jo and Pat shared with me, and discuss any kind of, we discussed the census and other things, but perhaps the first thing is just communicating. This is what the money is for. We'd really like you to do the licenses. Maybe it's down prior. What do you two think? How can we get this message to them?
It's fine, use all the channels.
Great. We can also, I know we do mailings twice a year for our spring and our fall town forums. It is a relatively large flyer. There's space on that we can add as a reminder to make sure that it's getting every month. I do know that a postcard gets sent to everyone who has previously registered a card that it's time for renewal. So that is already done. And I particularly the registration paperwork goes in the winter time prior as a big page. Yes, it does. I have to fill out. So that because it opens, I think Jan 1 and then mid-March, and then after that, there's an additional fee, right? So that I know that does go out, right? And maybe, Mr. Hinobrata, we should think more of some sort of a packet when people who hear, like, what are things you need to know from Article 2 to 6, how to register your animals? What are things that maybe you're familiar with from somewhere you don't know that these things exist?
There's no else to be, sorry, there's a well on your residence.
Okay.
Page about how it
Yeah, she was in there.
It's $27,000. It's not a ton of money, but it's being looked at $5 elsewhere.
Yeah, so here, I see that.
I know they're currently, whatever that math is, 5,700 divided by 70. How many dollars it is, we have more than those dollars. So, I feel like Bob Parker, I need to speak my please. And your license your pets. I'll do some sort of communication on it for every pet. We'll start with that, we'll see how that goes, if that brings in additional money. We discussed the census, but there is cost to that, so trying to equate somewhere in the middle. Okay, that's not how.
AI data centers and
So there's obviously lots in the So about AI data centers, I then learned about something called an AI node, which I shared, and talked to Caitlin about. Some municipalities are banning these items, some are regulating. Wanted to bring this for discussion among the of us. Do we want to do nothing? Do we want to ban? Do we want to regulate? Do we want to ignore? What are our thoughts?
So for centers, I don't think we need to put a regulation, we should not space, and we should not nerve that. But the nodes, yeah, we should definitely have some kind of regulation, and I think it's just legally, it's far better to do a regulation than ban. Bans.
It'll stay
Subject to challenge.
Absolutely.
I personal experience to that, yeah, but it's yeah, it's to come up with regs, and I frankly haven't seen regs on the nodes.
I looked specifically to have found
Yeah.
anything on the news as of yet.
Yeah,
So
so
it
that's
looks
something
like
I
a
don't
little
know.
thing that goes next to your house, it kind of looks like a little air conditioning unit, and so in areas where you can't build a giant data center. These companies are then giving them to you and then offering you $20,000+ to have this on your property. So it'll be appealing, but also.
Well, the big problem is, it sounds like they wanna do them in groups. So it wouldn't just be one making the sound of air conditioner, you would be talking about you and your in 3 streets, so that hum and the energy usage. So like.
So we should all work with private grants, right? Not
Yes.
standard.
And yeah,
There's questions.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a cheap example of the Apple.
I reached out to the legal municipalities to see if they had anyone that had a model. I guess I haven't heard back. It was a suggestion that I put onto their website to see if they could model one, but I haven't heard back. But yeah, I also couldn't find any that did show.
Yeah.
Our administrators.
I feel like this is all moving so fast, like even the word AI node, I didn't know until 2 or 3 years ago, so it would be my preference to get ahead of this, so. Giant ones.
And that's the whole point, if you're passing regulations and things like that, you have to do them before things start coming to you, because most of those types of ordinances that bans or regulations attached to it only apply for that, not retrospective. Right? So being ahead of the curve is still.
I also wanted to circle back to this is a topic we discussed a few times, Caitlin, we had discussed, yeah, if you want to share more.
Sure, so I kind of dived a little deeper into it, if you are seriously considering modifying your ordinances to allow liquor licenses. I took a look at some surrounding towns, because people have done the process differently. Ultimately, you do need to have a referendum, but how that referendum gets on the ballot, there's various procedures, but we will be looking at the binding referendum, binding question, and that is because our current regulations prohibit sale of alcohol. Since we're changing that, there's a specific mechanism in state statutes which require a resident-driven petition to come to the governing body before a measure can be put on the ballot. And deadlines associated with everything. So if you're looking to get a binding question on the ballot in November, or the November general election, the governing body here must pass a resolution by August 21st to get it to Henry County Clerk's office, so they are able to put the question on the ballot. That's the drop dead date, so we should be looking at, if we're looking for a petition to be completed and us to pass a resolution, we should be looking for that drop dead date, to give us a little bit of. And for the petition, or the numbers for the petition, you need to have 15% of the voters who voted in the last general assembly election, so last November's election. 15% of those voters have to be on or sign the petition without numbers. in general, you always want more than that baseline number because some signatures can end up getting disqualified. So petition should be completed before that on the state, so we can have enough time to pass the resolution, send it into the county clerk. As far as the question that would be on the ballot, since we want to take a look at a 5-day referendum, it's spelled out in the statute, so we should to have it right on there, so that's exactly what we're looking at. I suggest the next steps would be now to the post office to perform, kind of give them a heads up that we're looking at this and to coordinate, their preferences on how they want to see the petition. Ultimately, a lot of things are going to go into that, so it's just a good step procedurally. And those are your kind of drop dead dates. Something to keep in mind if you're doing the finding question, it's either majority votes yes or majority votes no. If majority votes yes, we are obligated to move forward passing the ordinances, rescinding some ordinance that prohibit it, and then moving forward with that process. If it comes out with a majority vote, you would then be prohibited from putting this back on for any sort of referendum question for at least 5 years. So just keep that in mind.
Thanks, Gail. That's all.
I still want to just throw it out there that academics had to go out again because they're licensed. They're always here. So. They dropped it, yeah, they dropped it from 400 down to 250, I think, right? 400 to 250.
So I've done those in the past where the same thing happened, where we've gone out, we had an additional liquor license, go out to bid for that. Set a baseline level for the bid numbers to come in, don't get any qualified bidders. Start the process over, but the best way to set the baseline is just look at it around to see what the market value is. But if you put it too high,
Do we have any other data to pull from surrounding municipalities? How do we find it's like looking for a house, how do you find the comps? Do we have any comps from around?
so easily if they have gone out to bid recently, those are easily find the most resolutions. There's also a private market for sale and transfer.
Yeah, I gotta find it so much in those high school ones. And then we'll talk about the rest of sale and, private transfers. And the difficulty there is there's a market already set and there's a limit, so there's greater demand. The township to buy the liquor license. And there's only 6 to be in that spot. You pay more than what is getting rolled out.
And it's not the end of the world, it's gonna be, we might have gone through the process and set a base level, and don't get the interest that we anticipated and have to do it again and lower the threshold. It's not a big deal to do that, as long as you're budgeting correctly, you're not anticipating revenue based on your.
Just a couple of things, you don't have to put that from beginning to end. You can decide what's gonna go to somebody, right? And then second is what the petition process, the referendum, you kind of have to nail down what you're going, what it's going to be, right? It's going to be this many licenses, this kind of license. These are what the restrictions will be on the license. Like you kind of have to nail down in advance what that is. Even I think in the petition too, before signing, put it on the ballot. It's like we're putting on the ballot this. Like we're not putting on
Question.
this is what we're doing. Literally, the petition is like, do you want to put this on the ballot? And then it's got to say what's going to be on the ballot, and that's the big problem.
So first step would be coordinating with the Kent Clerk's office, and then you're gonna get all the petition ready, and then you're gonna need some residents to do a grassroots campaign. to get it done. Yeah, to get your signatures, and then there's gotta be a period of time where they bring the signatures back, and clerk will have to review all, much like any primary election, it's to be valid, and petition before we go the process of getting a resolution to send it to the county.
Yeah, that's what they guys, it's very helpful.
Yes. Okay, motion.
But I have a couple.
Or cut back.
Actually, that's second. A few things from Lindsay Ferguson, who's out today. Welcoming Amelia. Amelia Cha is our new intern and 2024 graduate of Conzo High School and a rising junior at Loyola University, Maryland, where she's pursuing a degree in communication and media, the specializations in journalism, digital media, and a minor in marketing. This summer, she's interning in the Department of Community and Business Development / Communications under Lindsay Ferguson, where she'll be assisting with social media, the town crier, website updates, app development, event support, and more. Amelia brings deep roots in our community. She worked at the Concord Farmers Market for several years, served as a featured speaker at the 2024 Juneteenth event, and works at local businesses, including Ecosburg and Support. She also has experience with WCHS, Fox TV, and currently manages social media for several organizations at Loyola, including Asian Cultural Alliance, First Generation Moms, and her longtime dancer, Sarah. Sorry, I have no idea.
It's okay. It's Cambodian.
Cambodian dancer.
Yes.
Her skills in graphic design, photography, video production, and content creation make her a great fit for the role. She's excited to get back to the town. Welcome, Amelia. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
A mural project update from Lindsay and her team. The borough received 4 RFPs for the mural park project. This is the one that's in the Market Park. 2 finalists have advanced to the interview stage, which is being scheduled for next week with members of the Public Art Committee, including Chris Fleury of House-Bench and Matt Walker of the Common Civic Collective. The project remains on schedule. The original plan was to award the contract at the July Commissioners meeting. However, that July 6th meeting has been canceled, which we haven't given notice, but just to remind the public. So our next meeting will be July 15th, this working meeting. As an alternative to the award of the mural could take place at the July working meeting or be moved to the August Commissioners meeting. Whatever the commissioners prefer. And then finally, for something else, app development update. So there has been discussion and a lot of work done on a town app. It's installed a bit over the past few weeks as a communications and development business development team was working for a very end season. The project's continuing its next phase, which is support from Amelia. One of Amelia's primary projects this summer will be working with Lindsay Ferguson to compile the information needed to complete the app outline and transfer it to development. So this is very exciting. The outline includes sections on an event calendar, shop, dine, Collingswood cash, public deals, things to do, getting here and getting around, parks, the farmers market, Scottish Rite, notifications, government services, public library, schools, volunteer use, and more. So exciting things. There's some potential app dates that are under consideration, including Hello Collingswood, Collingswood on the Go, Collingswood Local, and Collingswood Events. So if you have any thoughts on the app, feel free to reach out to Lindsay and myself. I'll pass them on. Juneteenth is this Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. along Urban Avenue and in the Ribbon parking lot. Please join, enjoy live performances. There's a DJ and line dancing, readings. The South Jersey 40+ Double Dutch, I've seen several years, absolutely amazing. Mr. Boom Boom's African Drum Circle, food and beverages, and your support. First Juneteenth commemorates the day in 1865 when enslaved Africans and Texans learned of their freedom, marking the end of slavery in the United States. From its meaningful origins, Juneteenth has grown into a national celebration of community culture and freedom. This local event honors the rich heritage of the Black diaspora, promotes unity, and invites the whole community to learn about the holiday. We do still need volunteers. The link can be found on the website, on the Facebook event, or on Instagram. I also plan to put it on my social media. We'd love to have a few more hands to help out for Juneteenth. The Collingswood Civic Collective Halloween Garden Tour, it's on June 27th from 11 to 5. Tickets are available at collingswoodciviccollective.com. Collingswood Summer Movies in the Park begins July 9th with Princess Diaries, 2001, and will follow every Thursday at dusk through August 20th. And more details to come, but there's going to be a FIFA watch party July 19th from 12 to 6 in downtown Collingswood in partnership with Business Outfitters. So save the date, that is exciting. And I mentioned that our next meeting is July 15th. The only other thing I wanted to mention is notice, which we've given previously, but just to make sure, Girl Hall is now on summer hours, Monday through Thursday from 9 to 5:30 and Friday from 9 to 11:30. This allows for summer hours for our staff, so please plan accordingly. This goes through September 4th. And then lastly, Cass, can you give a quick update on the background check process that we discussed?
Yes. So, I could, but we talked about rec, police, myself, being together, sort of talk about a balance between increased security and not being so owners are expensive and security for living together. The middle ground is that we will maintain the minimum of that our training requires training videos. However, volunteers, coaches, anybody involved or dealing with children will not to register for that training. Even though stamp certification, that information will also go to the police department. So that layer of stay, that's an we can register for mail. It should be going out soon. And then starting in 2027, but encouraging as early as possible, trying to one time fingerprinting for everyone involved. It's critical because it will also be asking everybody involved to move their timelines up to get their training and fingerprints done earlier so that everybody participating is clear all these requirements before the programs start. There's also some additional training that we're going to encourage, but not necessarily require, which is for Rutgers. And essentially, the biggest change will be fingerprinting our participants and Berlin across the program.
And then, of course, starting immediately is verification that you've actually completed the videos of those to the honors.
And that's what this means. That again. So all of that will be pushed out. We're gonna start advertising that information now, so those are prepared. You talked a little bit about for those fingerprints to do the fingerprint session locally. Okay. So we'll avoid that information as much as possible. So they don't have to wait until soccer or whatever other program starts. They can do it now.
And to be clear, we were and are in compliance with regulations. That's what children say. Yet these are additional projections that we need to enhance the safety of children.
I just want to wish Andy happy birthday, more softball attention to her birthday. Thank you. I need to come to you. And
No, I don't know.
Great. So we're now going to go to executive session. So everybody online?
No.
I got a motion to go into close for starting time approach.
Thanks, everybody.